Hello, everyone. Let's see, is my mic on? Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of My Tummy Hurts. I am your host, Shannon Chan Kent, and today I have my friend Tan Cordoba on with me, all the way from Melbourne.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited you came on the podcast, and thank you. You're such an inspiration for me, and you have been just not only an inspiration, but a good friend and like a shoulder to lean on and cry on. And just, yeah, thank you for
Oh,
being here.
thank you for having me. It's really, really nice, like to have met you in such a short period of time and to have bonded so much, and
Yeah,
being able to meet you in person, like when we caught up, it just felt like we just connected instantly. We knew what we've both been going through, and
I know.
you're just so pure and genuine and warm. And yeah, I'm so glad this journey brought us together.
Me too. I'm so happy to have met you. And yeah, so basically, Tan and I met on Instagram,
Mhm.
the
We did.
wonderful world of Instagram. And I think I started following you first, right?
Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes. Yes. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this woman is speaking my language. I was like, she knows exactly how I feel.
Yeah, I think I remember you reached out. I think you asked something, or I said something that related to you. And then we just started talking, and I felt the same thing with you. I'm like, oh my God, she knows everything that I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Can you tell us
Yeah.
basically what
Yeah,
you have been dealing with the last 3 years?
I can. It's a lot. I've dealt with an absolute lot. So essentially, about 3 years ago, I was going through a period of like really, really stressful time.
Hmm.
My personal life between, all the COVID lockdowns and stuff, then some personal, like my marriage, just the kids' life.
Hmm.
Um, and I started noticing just every now and then that just things weren't kind of right, just randomly. I had the two COVID vaccines. And after that, I just very quickly felt like my body was just kind of going downhill really, really fast, but I couldn't explain it. But because I'd always had like health issues before, and I was used to being told that I had like health anxiety, I was like, oh, stop it. You're just overanalyzing everything.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I remember a couple of months later, a couple of things happened all at once very quickly. So it's like it's really hard to piece what started and when. But what I remember was that I was going through a lot of stress. I was having like a lot of anxiety, a lot of panic attacks. And to help myself through it, I was picking my son up from school, riding his scooter. And I was scooting along, and there was this gigantic kind of hill, and I would push myself down and just let go.
Mm.
And I would feel like, oh God, this is so nice. Like it's nice to be feeling so free again. But what happened was that one time when I was doing that, I'd bought new shoes and they were really cushiony. And the minute I stopped and went to get off the scooter, it was like my body didn't stop. It
Mm.
was like my body was still going. And I remember pausing and thinking, what? Like, this is weird. But again, I just kind of let it go. A couple of weeks later or a couple of days later, kind of happened again. And it just started increasing a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I got sick with a virus. And then that was it. That was all over. I literally went from being functional to then being completely horizontal. Everything's spinning like vertigo, but not only spinning, it was like my body, I would move it forward, and it was like if you move your body forward, you stop and your body stops. It was like I had this internal other person that would then keep going forward. Um, so hard to explain, but I just, yeah, I couldn't stand up. I couldn't see straight. Everything was moving. I felt if I was sitting on anything, slightly cushiony or anywhere, it felt like my body was just bouncing up and down like I was on a boat, just wild, rocking side to side continuously. Externally, no one could see that. So again, people were like, oh, what's wrong now? Get over it.
Yeah.
Like, just get up and walk. Like, just stop. But, and internally, my entire world, I couldn't even describe what I was feeling. And the only thing I knew of was vertigo, but not from experience because I'd never had vertigo in my life. My mum
Mm.
had, my dad had it, but not me. I'd never been car sick. I've never been like nothing. So I didn't know what was going on. It was horrific. And that's when I started, reaching out to the doctors, trying to find answers.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
So take us through. I mean, that's terrifying.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I went through something very similar, but for me, I think the virus came first,
yeah.
and I had already, it was really strange. I've always gotten motion sickness,
Hmm.
so even, but I never felt the way that I felt like triple PD.
Hmm.
For those who don't know, that's perceptual postural persistent dizziness or persistent perceptual postural dizziness. It's when you feel like you're constantly moving, even though you're standing still, you're sitting still. Um, yeah. Okay. So terrifying. And you have children to take care of,
Yeah, two
and
boys.
two boys, angels, and
Yeah.
going through a divorce, a
Hmm.
separation, big stuff. Okay. So when you were like, all right, I got to get myself better. Who am I calling? Who were you calling? What were your next moves?
Initially, I didn't know what on earth was going on, so I called my GP, my
Yeah.
first go to, and she was like, "Oh, let me just check," and I could hear her clicking away, and I'm thinking, I've already done that on Instagram, YouTube. Like, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, you've got vestibular neuritis. It'll be
Right.
gone in 6 to 8 weeks, and I'm like, this does not okay. But then you trust, so
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you're like. And then the days go on, and you're not only not better, but you're worse. And your whole life has just, it's like your entire body, your brain, everything is shut down.
Yeah.
And you can't just sit there and go, okay, I'm just going to wait 6 weeks, because there's no way that your brain comprehends that this will just magically disappear when all your functions have shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started researching online, and then I found like a group on Facebook, and they were all talking about how, oh, it's your neck, it's your neck. Like, if you go and get your neck adjusted, all of a sudden it's all gone. So, of course, we all want to feel better instantly and like this. So I went to see a neck person, a chiro, upper cervical trained chiro, blah, 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 that did whatever maneuver. And of course, that was not me. Looking back now, I realize I ended up 10 times worse.
Yeah.
I felt like my body had no gravity. So I went from just being like everything moving and not being able to walk and holding onto things to then and bopping up and down to then on top of that, my body feeling like it had no gravity whatsoever.
Yeah.
So if I stood up, there was nothing pulling me down to earth. So I
Mm.
had to wear weighted vests, I had to have backpacks, still not knowing what was going on with me. I kept researching, trying everything. And then I found like that community, on Facebook, which actually made me 10 times worse, because the things that I was reading from the people that were there were like, you know, you're going to have to get used to this. Because I was like, oh, if all I have to do is VRT, I'm quite positive. And they're like, yeah, let me know what you think about this in 3 months' time. And I'm like, oh, okay. I've had this for 15 years. I've had this for,
Yeah.
and I just kept going around in circles. And that's when I started researching through Instagram, because I went,
Mm.
no, this is not what I'm getting here. I'm not buying it. Nothing's adding up with what I'm feeling. No one's understanding me. I'm just getting worse and worse. And then in between, it was winter for me. So my immune system's always been really crappy. So
Mm.
I was getting hit with a virus after virus after virus every 2 or 3 weeks. So I never got a chance to come back to baseline. It was always like, bam, another one, and
Yeah.
worse. It was just a spiral. And there was a point where I spent 3 weeks literally horizontal, where I could not even stand up and grab onto anything. I couldn't even walk like a meter away. It was horrific. Um, And that's when I started going down the Instagram researching, and I found a couple of practitioners, one especially in Utah, Dr. Salisbury, and he was so kind. He did a video call with me just out of his kindness, and he explained to me, I'm like, you're treating this. What is this? I don't understand. Like, help me. And he gave me the rundown of what a vestibular thing is,
What,
how he,
sorry, what kind of a doctor is he?
so he's a chiropractor
Yeah.
slash functional neuro, and
Okay.
he's in,
Okay.
yeah. So he does all the functional neuro work, but because I could see that, he was looking beyond just the adjusting thing. He was
Mm-hmm.
looking at the vestibular side, the eyes, the nystagmus.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was actually considering, the reason I contacted him was because I was desperate and I was like, I don't care if I have to get on a plane, however, and get to
Mm-hmm.
you because I can't find any answers here. So then he started helping me. He's like, let me try and find the equivalent of me where you are. Like, so I started going to researching and I'm like, what about this one? What about this one? And he would say to me, he's like, no, he doesn't do exactly that. You need to find these specific words. So he guided me. He guided me to a point where I found a functional neurologist in Sydney here, Eric. So then I got on the phone to Eric, crying from the floor. This was when I was just on the floor 24/7. And he was sending me voice messages again. And I was like, I don't, like, what is going on with me? I don't know what's
Mm-hmm.
going on.
Mm-hmm.
He started giving me information and insight. And he said, yes, I do that. There was no chance I could get on a plane. And he said, listen, he said, there's only three of us in Australia. He's like, and the best in the business is Brett, and he's actually in your city.
Oh,
He's like, but he's impossible to get into because he predominantly just treats like professional athletes. And I just went, I have to go and see him.
yeah.
But it took me a while before I could actually apply to see him because I couldn't drive. Not even, he's 20 minutes away from me. I couldn't drive that far and I had no
Yeah.
support to drive
Yeah.
me there. So, and I was still in this like emotional loop of like pure panic that,
Yeah.
to be honest, I think if I had have gone to see Brett that early on, emotionally and mentally, and the trauma side, I would not have been ready to
Okay.
start. Like it wouldn't have been as effective as it was when I ended up going to see him, which was like 18 months later.
I was going to say, how long did it take you from when you contacted him to being able to see him?
18 months.
Okay.
So I had to reapply um,
Wow.
to see him. And that was after I saw a chiropractor just down the road. That was my tipping point. So in those 18 months, I was literally horizontal, my marriage breaking down, moving out of the house with my two boys by myself. My parents were living overseas. They were only here for a couple of months. So they helped me do that transition and then
Hmm.
they left. So I was kind of just here. It was a
So,
lot.
so I want to take it back to you mentioned you did some trauma work and you
Yeah.
mentioned you wouldn't have been ready to see Brett if you hadn't done some of that trauma work. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, your dizziness didn't get better before you saw Brett.
No, by that stage. So what happened for me was that I recognized that my environment that I was in was a big contributor to me not getting better. I was just constantly in this loop of just.
Yeah.
So my focus then became, it's like this internal instinct that just, I don't know, like you find this strength that you don't even know you have when you need it, right?
Yeah.
So something flipped inside of me when I could barely walk and I was like, I need to move with the boys. And once I did, that's when I started. My dizziness was not better, but the strength, the mental strength and determination inside of me, that's when it changed. That's when something flipped inside me and said, this is not my story. I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm done. Like, I'm not stopping. I'm going to work this out. Like, I've been a root cause data analyst at work for 20 years. This is what I do for work. When something's
Mm,
broken, they give it to me and they're like, sort it out, go fix it. And I
mm,
do. And I stop until it's done. I'm like, there's no one here to save me. I've got to save myself. What would I do if this was like a work project? And I've got
mm.
my boys here. I've got no one to lean on, no one to rely on. This is it. Like, and I feel as traumatic as that experience was, I feel like it gave me the fire
Yeah.
to find a way. I had no
Yeah.
other choice. I had no other option.
How did
Well,
you even pack your house if you're horizontal? Like,
my
oh my
parents
gosh.
were here for like a couple months, and I was literally just bopping sideways, and my mum and my dad just kind of took over, and but at the end of the day, I also didn't want to take anything with me. I wanted to take just the minimum. And in fact, I had a whole bunch of medical equipment that I bought for rehab, and my mum actually said to me, "You're not taking any of this with you. This stays here."
Hmm.
And that was the best thing ever because it kind of detached. It was like it mentally helped me move into that. I'm going to work this out. I'm not taking this on as my identity,
Okay.
even if later down the track I had to buy a couple of that stuff anyway. But it
Hmm.
was more
Hmm.
like a side of it of like, this is a physical, I'm drawing the line here.
Yeah.
Like we're things. And then, yeah, then when I moved out, that was when I started digging and researching. And that's when I reached out to Brett.
Yeah.
And he took me on. But at the same time, I think about a month before that was when my best friend helped me realize she was supporting me every single day on the phone, like
Hmm.
27. And she helped me realize that there was so much trauma. My body was stuck in a state of chronic fight or flight, constant panic attacks.
Yeah.
And who isn't with dizzy? Like you just can't.
I mean, I think that's so, especially on Instagram because we're on it and that's how
Yeah.
I mean, it's how we met each other and how we found a certain way out and I see all this nervous system regulation and it's like the three pillars of the nervous system and then it said proprioception and your vestibular system and I was like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like I know there's the dizzy anxious cycle. I get that. But like if dizzy starts first, you
Mm-hmm.
still have to get to root cause of the dizzy.
Yeah.
Because yeah, of course dizzy's going to make you anxious. You don't have spatial awareness, you don't
Yeah.
feel gravity, you're bopping up and down, you're horizontal like no shit, Sherlock,
There is no
right?
other option. And it's like, it's not even, I remember my psychologist at the time had said to me, she goes, I know that you're feeling, the anxiety and the panic attacks, and you were having them before dizzy.
Mm,
And now that you're dizzy, you're also having it. And she says, but I want you to visualize this as two separate boxes.
mm,
She's like, there's dizzy and there's panic from the emotional stuff that you were feeling before dizzy, like your life circumstances. And then there's the dizzy, anxiety, and panic. This is a default mechanism that is instilled in your body to keep you alive. Because if you
mm,
didn't have that, you would fall off a balcony or fall into a fire. Like
mm-hmm.
you're meant to have that alert system, and it's been triggered because your body doesn't know where the ground is. It doesn't know where north, south, east, west is. And so
Yeah.
it's trying to keep you safe. But
Yeah.
it's so hard because you're dealing with all of that, and you've got to try and come out of that state to
Yeah.
start helping your body heal. And my best friend made me realize just how much I was just so stuck in this state, and there was so much for me to heal.
Yeah.
And she referred me to Corinne. And the minute I messaged her, I just was like, it was like speaking to the same person, like her just,
And Corinne is a trauma therapist or hypnotherapist or
yeah, she does hypnotherapy.
yeah.
I'd never done that before. I'd been to, talk therapy for 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Clearly, I mean, it had helped, but I was still I was still being triggered by the same things, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. And I was like,
Yeah.
and when I spoke to Corinne, she's like, this is really different. She's like, what we're going to do is literally, we're going to go in deep. She's like, think of your garden as like, this garden full of overgrown weeds.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, and we're going to go in and we're going to grab one weed at a time and we're going to pull it out from the roots. And until you're left with this beautiful green, lush garden full of flowers and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, that first session, I was instantly so drawn to her, and it made me realize just how much I had to get rid of. And the way that she structured it is like a 12-week session where she goes through each emotion at a time, and it's through your whole timeline. So it's like digging into your subconscious. I hope I'm explaining this right,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
pulling out from the minute you were born, and even from before, some people have memories and things that pop up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just when you're in that trance, like that hypnosis, different memories and different things will come up where your body still reacts like it did when you were in that moment. And there were things
Mm.
that came up for me that I wasn't even aware that were triggering, were like stored in my body, the reactions. Like I was literally going to a panic attack just remembering it.
So,
So,
so when you finished these sessions,
mhm.
how were you left? Did you feel, because you're not working on your vestibular system, you're working on trauma, which, can be linked
Yeah,
in some cases. I mean, in all cases, but they are separate for you. Well,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm like, it's that dizzy anxious
Yeah,
cycle,
it's
right?
all,
They
yeah,
are intertwined, but what came first, the chicken or the egg, And when
exactly.
you finished a session with her, would your dizzy be more calm?
Yeah, it was it was releasing a whole bunch of trauma that I thought was completely unrelated to Dizzy. But here's what it made me realize is that Dizzy didn't start when Dizzy started.
Mm.
Dizzy started back here.
Yeah, yeah,
And it
yeah.
was just the accumulation of all these things that then the final couple of pieces dropped and Dizzy, my body just went into Dizzy
Interesting.
mode
Yeah,
and didn't get out of it. Because a lot of people get dizzy and a lot of people get better after 6 to 8 weeks.
yeah,
There's a reason why I didn't.
yeah,
And for me, that's what that helped me with, is because I can now see it looking back as dizzy being just the final straw that broke my entire body down. But it
yeah.
was years and years of accumulation. And there was a big contributing factor, um, around my relationship, around my life, around a whole bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Relationships with people close to me, like that I was,
Mm-hmm.
triggered and that were affecting my recovery as well in the way that they were supporting me. So the
Mm.
way that they were, you know, oh, you're acting like you've got cancer, like move on, kind
I
of,
hate that.
right? And I had to do that work to be able to release that and understand where that was coming from
Yeah,
in order to move past it, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Because that was the people around me who were responding like that. It didn't come from a place of, I have no love for you, I don't want to support you. It helped me understand where that was coming from for them. And
mm-hmm.
so then it helped me change the way that I reacted to those words, which then changed our entire relationship. And so what it did was, and this was like family, friendship circles, it literally helped me to break down everything around me,
Wow.
every relationship, and then rebuild it from this beautiful space where I can't even explain it. But yeah, it was. And the other part that it did was, so some of the emotions that you go through are fear, sadness. Oh God, I can't remember, anger.
Yeah,
Um, and so a lot of that was dealing with those emotions during the trauma of dizzy itself,
yeah,
right? During, from the moment where I was stuck on the floor all the time and the things people around me would say to me, doctors as well. Like,
yeah.
um, so it helped me deal with the nervous system side of the actual dizzy itself. And it helped me give it kind of like a purpose. Like it made me understand why I got dizzy. My life was just, I wasn't living my best life. I was living the opposite of that for many, many, many years. And I think like dizzy forced me to physically stop avoiding things and go, well, you know what? You can't move anymore. You can't run away from this. You need to stop and look at your life. And
Isn't that so interesting? I mean, I think when I'm like, when I'm out of this, I'm like, I'm going to look back and be like, this was the biggest blessing. And you hear people say that all the time. And I want to get to that piece too, but I want to,
yeah,
for those who don't know, can you explain what a functional neurologist does?
yeah. So, a functional neurologist is different to the neurologists like in the medical field.
Yeah.
Um, from my experience with them, obviously they might describe it, differently. But from my experience with them in very basic terms, if you go to a neurologist, their tools in the medical field are pretty much like surgeries and medication.
Mm-hmm.
And diagnosis. Like you've got 3PD, you've got MDDS, you've got this, you've got that, right? The functional neurologist is more like when I walked into Brett's office, I had been told I had this. And I asked him, I said, what do I have? Give me the labels. And he just looked at me and he's like, I want you to grab all those labels. He's like, and you're going to throw them away. He's like, we don't care. We don't care what label you're having. He's like, I'm going to do a whole bunch of tests that are just going to tell me how all the different parts of your vestibular system, your brain, all the different parts of the brain, how they're all working and if they're working. Mm-hmm. And if they're not working, we're going to rehab them and make them work together. He's like, and I'll never forget that because that day he said to me, he goes, you know what a placebo is? And I was like, yeah, like, something that you take that you think is going to make you better and it makes you better, not because it did, but because you think it will. He's like, yeah. So do you know what a nocebo is? And I'm like, no. And he goes, well, it's kind of like what happened to you when you saw your first practitioner, where you went in and the guy said, oh, yeah, you've got MDDS, triple PD, vestibular migraine, and if you want to get back to living your life, the only way you're going to do that is by taking propranolol, these antidepressants, and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, the effect that those words had on your healing and on your journey afterwards, that's the nocebo, and that's the impact that it can have on you.
Yeah.
He's like, when I do that, he's like, so I guess they kind of look through all this testing, they look to see what parts of your brain, your system, nervous system, everything are just not functioning optimally, and then making it work, but taking away the diagnosis, chuck a pill at this. So it's more like root cause kind of thing. And for me, it removed the fear of what I had. It was no longer this monster that was heavy weight on top of me of 5 different diagnoses that
well, it's like, were these neurologists even doing tests on you? Maybe they did the POTS test but like they probably weren't using infrared goggles to see what your eyes were doing in the dark when you turn your head, when you lay down, when you are doing a downward dog or whatever, like Brett was the down, I'm not going to say the downside, but with functional neurology, it's not covered under Medicare or anything. So they can be quite expensive. But they have the tools and the testing to give you answers and then to help rehab you. Whereas, I'm not shitting on universal healthcare at all. But neurologists they're also just trained differently. And you want a neurologist if you have a brain tumor, if you have a stroke, but even, 100%. Even a functional neurologist is great with a stroke and rehab as well. So
totally.
Everyone has their own strengths, but for you, this was kind of the way out. And so you started seeing some progress once you started trusting because he gave you the information you needed to know on like hard copy. This is what your eyes are doing. Here are the exercises.
Yeah, he gave me pure evidence. I'd been 8 months going from one practitioner to another. One vestibular therapist telling me, you don't have any nystagmus. The other one going, she literally wrote a full letter passing me on to the local hospital, pretty much saying that it was all in my head, right? And when I read that, I just burst into tears. So I didn't even want to go there. Then another, like a chiro telling me it's your neck. This one going, so by the time I went to see Brett, I had zero trust. I could barely walk in there. I was just sobbing unconsolably, nonstop. I was so depressed. I was done. I was done with everything. And I told him, I was telling Brett, it's my neck because the chiro just did the x-ray and he showed me. Honestly, I just wanted it to be my neck because I just thought if he can just snap it and then I've got my life back and that's it, right? I was desperate for that. And I remember he just looked at me and he said, Tan, he's like, I'm going to do all this testing and I'm going to tell you what it is. I can see what it is. He put the goggles on me and I go, I've already done that. I'm like, I don't have nystagmus. He's like, I don't know how he put up with me, honestly, because I was like,
I'm the
but
same way.
anyway,
I'm the same
I'm
way.
like, I'm done. And he's like, I'm going to tell. So then did the goggles. Before he did any of the other testing, he took the goggles off. He didn't say anything. He grabbed his computer, turned his computer around, and he goes, look at this. And he showed me the recording of my eyes, and my
Mm-hmm.
eyes were just pink to the left.
Mm.
And he just looked at me and he goes, it's vestibular. And I'm like, what? And then I just started crying.
Mm.
And then he explained to me, this is what he does. He explained to me every session I'm in there, he doesn't just go, yeah, your eyes are pinging. No, he knows that I want to know why and
Mm-hmm.
understand. He'll explain to me the depths of everything, why they're pinging. He's like, you've got dysfunction on this side. By default, your eyes are kind of being taken this way because it's like you're spinning this way and your brain's overcorrecting, like to throw them this way. And that's why you
Mm.
see the pings this way. And I said, something about compensate. He's like, throw that word out the window. We're not compensating for anything. He's like, we're going to get that system working again. It's like we're not, compensating for that deficit. We're not accepting
Mm-hmm.
that deficit's going to stay there. No,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to fix it. And so when he showed me that, I just started crying. It was trust. It was instant trust. It was proof, physical proof that, yes, there is something that's causing all this.
Mm.
And every symptom that I had was explained by what I was seeing, the eyes that were representing this not working. And he gave me one exercise, and that was
Mm.
it. But I'm not going to lie, those first 4 weeks when I had to do those exercises, there was so much in my brain that was going, but what if he's not the one? But what if he doesn't know? What if this doesn't
Interesting.
work? I had to shut all that down. I was going, Brett, because I had an example of Brett rehabbing one of our pro surfers. She was quite similar after post-viral fatigue syndrome, 14 months on the couch, couldn't do anything. And she's back, surfing pro at the Olympics, killing
Wow.
it.
Wow.
So I had that in my head, and I just kept repeating to myself, if Brett got Tyler back to surfing, he can get me back to walking. But it was repetition, repetition. Every time that panic, because I would have the panic attacks
Mm-hmm.
coming through, I shut it down with that. The next session I went and I was doing the exercises. I was like, just do what he says, do what he says. The next session when I went in, I was so scared. And at that point, he was 20 minutes from me. I was considering booking a hotel because at that point, driving to him and back I
Yeah.
would be in bed for like over a week,
Yeah.
right? But when I went in that second session, which was so scary because I'm like, if nothing's changed, this is another one that's out the door and like
Yeah. I
I've
hear
got
that.
no hope. But he retested me. He did everything again. And he goes, I asked him, I said, how long is this going to take? And he said, I don't know. He says, your testing will tell me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. And then when I went in and his face was like, we've slowed it down. And then he showed me, because every session he shows me the comparison.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? And I said, you know what? I've actually noticed that when I'm driving, I don't have that hangover feeling as bad as before. It'll only last like 10 minutes or 50, I don't
Mm.
know, 40 minutes instead of an hour and a
Mm-hmm.
half. He's like, yep, that's because that's the same system that's doing XYZ. And when you're turning in the chair and looking at those stripes, it's working on that. So he's always explaining the whys to me.
Yeah.
So that started calming my brain down. And then the following appointments with him were just every time I went in, he would see improvement in my symptoms and I would in the testing and I would notice slight improvements in every day. Very minor, but I was clinging onto those minor little things like I believe. I was like, there was
We
one
all
where he was making me go, this.
we all need a Brett. I saw a functional neurologist, and he's going to come on the podcast, and he's
Oh
brilliant.
my God.
And I
Love it.
wonder, but still he was able to really help me in the beginning, and then I got COVID again, and I also
Yeah.
don't live in Vancouver.
Mhm.
So full time, and so it's hard to get traction for me, but I'm like, it's
I want to copy paste him. I keep
I
saying to
know.
him, I'm like, Brad, where's the equivalent of you in this place, in this place, in this place?
I
He's like,
know. I know.
one here, one here, but it's just,
So, okay, so you're getting better.
Yeah.
And now you've also, well, okay, you've also, we didn't talk about this, but you've also introduced some functional medicine into your life at the
Yeah.
same time as when you're doing this rehab.
Yeah, so it all kind of came along together. So I started the trauma work, very quickly started seeing Brett. So the trauma work was actually helping me calm down my nervous system
Mm-hmm.
so that I wouldn't run away from Brett as well and trust him.
Mm-hmm.
So the combination of those two things really worked together. But then at that point, I was like in my work mode, going, okay, this is a project. I'm not kidding. I had like a piece of paper where I had circles and I was doing diagrams and going, no, I've got a missing piece here because my hormones, I get my period and it's out of control.
Mm.
And stop the rehab because I physically can't do it. I'm eating certain foods and my gut, it goes out of control. The dizzy goes out of control. So I had this big circle on my piece of paper where I was like, I've got these two parts sorted. I've got the brain rehab, the neuro stuff. There's a physical problem with my vestibular system. I've got my guy on that. I've got Brett for that. I've got Corinne for the nervous system stuff. Then I met Elise, and Elise is also like does functional neurology
Mm-hmm.
with a mix of the nervous system stuff. So she became like a mentor for me, like a day-to-day support, so good, whilst also giving me exercises and things to do all through the day that were more incorporated into my daily life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, my hormones, my gut, this is huge. And this is stuff that I've been dealing with since I was way before dizzy, right? And the doctors have been telling me, oh, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not fine. And I wasn't fine. And the accumulation of all of that, I know contributed to the dizzy part, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started going, I need a functional medicine specialist. I found one, amazing practitioner in the US. I couldn't afford the sessions. I couldn't, it was a lot.
Yeah.
I would have, we just sold our house. I had some money there and I was going to pay for it. But then at the same time, I was getting like the appointments and I wasn't getting answers. I was simply getting a really quick session. And then he'd take these things, all these supplements, and my body couldn't even tolerate one supplement, let alone 10 combinations of different
Yeah.
supplements,
Yeah.
right? Because the state that we're in, we're so sensitive. You can't even tolerate sometimes like a vitamin D, and your body
Yeah.
is shit. So then I was like, I want to learn this myself. And I started going down YouTube and trying to pinpoint things. Like I did genetic testing. I found out about MTHFR. I did that testing. And that's when I kind of went, nah, my brain needs to understand this because no other practitioner understands the level of sensitivity that I'm experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
They all then go, oh, you need to do more trauma work. I'm like, go away, all of you, with your, yes, I'm doing trauma work, but this is actually part of being dizzy. And Brett was fully on board. He also recognized that as well. He's
Yeah.
like, no, there is a big part of this that is like the functional medicine side. You need to get
Mm-hmm.
the inflammation down. You need to get the cortisol. You need to get hormones. So then I started researching because I wanted to learn it myself. And I came across a couple of coaching courses and then I eventually found FDN, which was like, this is brilliant because this is going to teach me how to do it, but also running the labs on myself. And it's, I'm going to be able to do it my way in a way that
Mm-hmm.
I know my nervous system can support. Um, and then when I started running those tests, I did them all and my brain just exploded because I was like, wow, 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 wow. I learned about the link between histamine and estrogen and the link between that and migraines. And yeah, if you've got vestibular migraines, the migraines are going to show up as vestibular migraines.
Yeah.
But what it made me realize was that before I got dizzy, for years, I had been having silent hormonal migraines that I didn't even know I was having
Interesting.
because they were symptoms that I just was told were normal and they weren't. So this functional side of it was a huge piece that was like underlying everything for years. And so when I started working on that and realizing that I was allergic to almonds, which I was eating 90% of my day because I was trying to go gluten-free because gluten-free is healthy, I was having these insane histamine reactions. I was having like an overload of histamine. My estrogen was through the roof. And that was started explaining why my dizzy symptoms were out of control when I got my period, when I was ovulating.
Hmm.
So then I started attacking that a piece at a time. And as I did, those triggers to my dizzy started lowering whilst I was calming my nervous system with the trauma work and rehabbing my brain at the same time. So it was like the combination of all of it blended together. But I had to do it so slow and on my terms because I'd had enough of everyone, honestly.
You are such an inspiration. Like, I feel like, and we've talked about this at length together, and you're like, peel everything back, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I've done that. I've peeled
Yeah. Yeah.
everything back. And, it's different for everyone, of
It is.
course. But you're, that fire, I mean, yeah, your fire and your determination to get better
Thank you.
is so inspiring. And
It was a lot.
and now, okay, let's
Yeah.
get to the other side. And now Tan came to LA. Oh,
I
how long have you
did.
been home now? You came here 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I've been home since like I don't know, like a week now, a week and a bit. Oh, I just wish I was
So
still there. I'm still crying.
you flew 15 plus hours, right?
Yeah, yeah,
To LA. You
yeah,
met up with me, your other dizzy besties that you
yeah.
met. You went to a functional medicine. When you went to Disney World,
I
Disneyland.
did.
Did you go on any of the rides?
No, no, no,
Okay,
no.
okay, okay.
No,
I was
no,
like,
I
oh my
was
God,
like,
she really is healed.
no, no, no. I was not because before coming to LA, I'd only been on one plane, which was 3 months before that, for one
Yeah.
hour. But I'm so extreme. I'm like either 0 or 1,000%.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
and I just went, my neuro had said, he's like, oh, you should do like a 5 hour trip before, and then somewhere with like time zone difference, just so that's like an in between. And then I just turned up to his office, like at the next appointment. I was like, I booked a flight to LA. And he's like, and his face was like, I'm like, are you worried? And he's like, no, you're fine. You could do it.
But
So,
like, can we talk about the fact that like, sure, you were bobbing a little off the plane and then we walked a lot and then that
yes.
bobbing went away
Yeah.
and like you were just go, go, go the entire time you were here and like no symptoms.
No, I was just, this is what happened is I'm like, was that the adrenaline running the show, or was it that
Totally.
literally I'm healed, right? I'm like,
Right.
what's happening here? Am I going to get home and absolutely have the biggest crash of my life?
Yeah.
But I was like, before I left here, I sat down. I remember doing a story. It was in the morning. I was waiting for my dad to pick me up. I was on my way to the airport, and I remember saying, I've I've not had to be used to being uncomfortable, like comfortable being uncomfortable for a really long time now. But I know that I need to get back into that mental space. I know how
Hmm.
to do it.
Hmm.
I was a pro at doing it,
Hmm.
and I don't like how it feels, but I'm going to channel that now because there's no other way out of this. I'm doing this flight and I'm going there. And I know because I've got the evidence that I can put whatever I'm feeling aside and tell myself it doesn't matter because you're just rehabbing your brain. It's that self talk. You're rehabbing your brain's learning. You're capable. You can do this. And whatever's left over when you get home, Brett will fix it. That's always been my thing.
I
Oh,
mean,
well, Brett.
that is, I know isn't it nice when you find a practitioner or a person that you
Yes.
trust, you can be like, okay,
Yeah.
they're my safety net. They're my,
Yeah.
and really, I think a lot in this journey, we can give our power away so quickly. Like, please fix me. Like
Yeah.
we come into these doctors' offices like desperate, fix me,
Yes.
save me. And so,
Yeah.
you know, it's so amazing that you have just like, um, Corinne, Brett, and Elise. Is that her name?
At least, yeah,
Yeah,
at least.
in your
She was like
corner.
soul sister as well. Like just the amount of emotional and mental support. Like she was
Yeah.
explaining to me the brain side of it. but also the spiritual side of it, like the
Yeah.
purpose, why this is happening, looking
Yeah.
deeper, you know. In fact, like when I bought this house, it's a three-level townhouse, right? I was so dizzy back then.
Mm.
I remember coming, sitting out the front at the car park. I was sitting right there in my car looking at it, and I was voicing Elise and saying, Elise, this is what's happening. I found my dream house. I found my dream home. I want to move in here, but I'm terrified. I'm like, I'm still holding onto the walls. Like, I'm not leaving the house. I can barely walk one street down. This is three levels, but it's everything. It's got this huge tree up the front. I'm just,
Mm.
and then I remember she just voiced me back and she said, everything that you're talking about in this house is literally everything that you are manifesting for your future.
Mm.
And she said, you can use this as a time to close the door on that life and leave
Yeah.
that behind, and use this as your rehab space.
Yeah. I
You know,
mean,
and the way that she talked me through it gave me that strength and that power to go, you know what? Everyone get the fuck out. I'm moving in
I
here.
know you've
I
got some
was,
spice, girl.
oh, you know, when I get pushed, but this is a funny thing is that when it all happened to me, this was not me. Like this, I
Yeah.
had no spice. I was broken down to the most broken version of myself. Like my friends who saw that part of me and see me now, they're like, we can't tie up those two people.
I
Like
mean,
there's no,
you are the classic. I mean, and I'm sure I would love, for me, I'm like, this is a death sentence. I hate this. For you, which in hindsight, I know I'll look back and be like, it changed the direction of my life, how I live it, what I thought was working for me before really wasn't working for me. And oh, why does it say lower my hand? Um, and and like for me, like being a viewer of you and like leaving a toxic relationship, like that is
yeah,
the universe going, bam, no
yeah,
tan, no, switch
yeah,
directions,
mm,
we're changing the script.
yeah. That's
and
100%.
and I still wish that this didn't happen to you, but I
Yeah,
wonder if it didn't, what would have been what would
yeah.
have been the final straw, or what would,
I think I fully agree with you because I don't recognize myself in my life now. No one that knows me recognizes the two. I was not this fiery. I didn't have this confidence. It took me over 12 months to be able to look at myself in the mirror.
wow.
I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I couldn't dress
Yeah.
in a way that I felt. When I tell you my confidence was non-existent. I had to start from the ground up. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. That's how little self-love I had.
Yeah.
I felt worthless. I felt like there was nothing good about me. I felt like the weakest human being on this earth. And when I was in the thick of it, I was just crying 24/7. Like I put some photos up the other day and it was
I
triggering
saw
going through
those.
them
I know. I
because that was every day for at least 2 years, 18 months, a bit more, until that fire kind of went, I fucking had enough. Like, and to be honest with you, I think that the extreme circumstances that I kind of went through forced me to, when they say like that, if you might be like really exhausted, whatever, but if a bus is coming for your kid, something inside you just turns on and you just run and,
yeah.
well, a lion, not a
I
bus, but you
mean,
will fight that lion. Like, I feel like that's what happened. And it
like I
was,
said,
I just, I didn't understand it, like when I was in the thick of it, I remember being outside lying on the grass and literally, like I was crying all day, every day. But
yeah.
I remember that one time I'd reached my absolute limit. And I remember just laying on the grass and just looking up at the sky and I was sobbing like unconsolably and just saying, why? why? And then I remember just begging and saying, just stop. Just please stop. I can't. I don't know who I was talking to. I don't know, but it was just like, I can't. And I remember thinking that whatever it is just doesn't want me here. Like, no one could tolerate this level of pain. Like, no one can. I, I think this is just a way of life not wanting me here
Mm.
anymore.
Mm.
Thankfully, I had my girlfriend, my best friend, who's very spiritual, and she said to me, "We don't know why. We don't know why right now, but I promise you that there's a reason. There is a reason behind this." And then, as the months went on, we started realizing, literally, and I think that's why this side of me is loving the fuck out of everything in life so much,
I'm
because it's
so,
like, is this why you did that? Whatever it was, like,
yes,
is this
yes.
why?
I
I'm like,
mean,
thank you. Thank you.
my, I really oscillate. Like, I am way more on the spiritual side than I feel like I am on the non-spiritual side, I guess. And
Yeah.
all I'm holding on to is like, I'm like, this is happening for a reason. And like somehow, some way, like when I came into this world, I contracted this. I knew that this was going to happen. Something like my soul is, and I don't know, maybe it's what people go to, why people go to religion when they're at their
Yeah.
worst, because we just need something to hang on to
Yeah.
and to make sense out of. But
Yeah.
I cried most of today,
Oh,
and I had talked to my therapist, and then I had a Reiki session. And I just said the same thing as you. Like, it's at least with my Reiki like person,
yeah.
she's intuitive, and she's like, I can feel what's going on in your head. I can feel it, and I don't know how you do it. And I'm
Wow.
like, I don't know how I do it. And I just kept bawling because I was like, I cannot live like this. I'm 38 years old. I I am granted kind of live in like a sleep. I don't live in a I live in like a sleepier complex, but even these like elderly people are far more vibrant than I feel. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is just not my life. This is not what I signed up for, and yet maybe my soul signed up for it, but and I so understand. And your fire has ignited my fire, and I've stayed fiery. I was fiery before this. So, but your support and you seeing you come to LA and living the life that you deserve and desire, and watching you get your dream home, and you know, just and dating, going back to
I
dating
know.
again. And like just watching you be the owner of your life is so inspirational. And for me to be able to text you and be like, Tan, it's been horrible. I feel horrible. And to know you know exactly how I feel, and to be like, we're figuring this out. We're doing it
Yeah.
together. We're figuring it out is like, I just can't tell you I just can't tell you how comforting that is. And like, if I need to come to Australia to see Brett and sleep on your couch,
You're coming. My couch is here. It's always here. You know what?
thank
I'm getting
you.
so teary, like hearing you say all that, and it means so much because when we're talking about purposes and everything, I genuinely, this is what we say with my best friend all the time. Like, I genuinely, genuinely, genuinely believe that I had to go to the extreme of the extreme and the worst of the worst of the worst symptoms and environment around it and lose people around me so that I can help others. And that's why a lot of people who are on this other side of this don't want to have anything to do with this ever again because it's so traumatizing. They don't want
Yeah.
to speak to anyone else who has it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's the opposite because
Mm,
I really, 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 really believe like this is the first time in my life that I feel like I have a purpose for me.
yeah.
And I'm a mum. I love my kids. Of course, there's that kind of side of me, the purpose, but that's like the reason why I was kind of put on this earth, if it makes
Mm,
sense. Like, and I feel like this is just a space where people are not getting better.
yeah.
You have 50 million different practitioners that don't work together. They work independently, and then they tell you that the other one doesn't know what they're talking about, and this one doesn't know what they're talking about. You should go with me. We're the ones in the middle, and no one has our back. No one
Mm-hmm.
is there going, hold up. These
Mm-hmm.
are all the options. Let's see what's happening for you because your dizzy
Mm-hmm.
is different. That person's dizzy, to that person's dizzy, to that person's dizzy. We all have different components. So let's like take a step and let's pull out pen and paper and draw a little map and see, okay, what are your pieces and who do we need to plonk into each of those pieces, which is kind of like what I did for me. And I've got that analytical brain and,
Yeah, you do.
you know, like that's the space that I want. Also, when I'm speaking to people and helping them, and honestly, like I just get teary because I'm like, it just reaffirms every time that I had to go through that. It's okay. Like I
Yeah.
needed to feel that so I know what others are feeling, kind of help them. Like
Well,
it's weird, but it's shifted a lot.
that brings me to whoops, where people
Oh,
can find you because now you are a functional medicine practitioner.
yeah, so I'm like a functional health practitioner and coach. So I'm 100% just focusing on the disease side and yeah, I'm on Instagram, so vestibular.migraine.wellness and the balanced wellness path is kind of like what I've started.
Amazing.
But essentially, I want to help be that person that I didn't have that I had to kind of create for myself. Like I
Yeah.
want to be able to, speak to you, see what's going on. Like let's break down everything. Let's grab the whiteboard, grab a piece
Yeah.
of let's break it down. Like what does your dizzy look like? Do you have a huge functional piece or is yours more just like the vestibular stuff? Do you
Mm-hmm.
have trauma going on? Like let's
Mm-hmm.
work out what puzzle pieces make up your story and then let me help you try and find the right people like practitioners to deal with that and you know with the certification that I have I can help with the functional side of it, so with like the hormones, the
Yeah,
inflammation, the gut, the neuroinflammation that could be driving all this. That's also
totally.
huge. So yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'll tag and put some stuff in the show notes. I have some rapid fire questions really quickly before we end because we're totally out of time. But
Okay, amazing. Go.
they're rapid fire gut feelings. Okay.
Okay,
Sweet or salty snack?
sweet.
What's your go-to comfort food when your tummy hurts?
Hot chips, fries, especially McDonald's and Coke. I didn't say that.
Okay. Most chaotic thing you've done in the name of gut health or health in general?
Oh my God, what have I done? I was going to do a coffee enema, but then I freaked out and I didn't do that.
Oh, girl, I'm an
Um,
expert. I'll teach you.
wait,
Okay. One food your tummy hates, but your soul loves.
chocolate,
Your,
chocolate, and
but
coffee.
your tummy hates chocolate.
Cakes.
Okay.
Yes, I get instant migraines and instant
Okay.
cramp.
Histamine. Hey,
Yeah.
histamine with
Uh
the
huh.
coffee and the chocolate. I have been
Yep.
off chocolate for a couple years now and
Yep.
no coffee, and it kills my
It's
soul.
within 2 seconds. I get the migraine.
Interesting. Okay. What makes your tummy hurt emotionally?
Not feeling seen, dismissed,
And what heals it?
being seen, being understood, and being accepted as I am.
You're amazing.
Chaotic and mess is all.
You're amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. You're an inspiration, like I said.
You
And
too, girl.
it's been such an honor to have you on here and listen to your
Thank
story.
you.
So thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you
You're
too.
welcome.